Hey guys, welcome back to the Not Only Carrot show here on YouTube. I'm Leah and today I'll be making an easy 5-minute lentil pie. All right, let's get started. To begin with, you're gonna need a bowl and a stirring spoon. Make sure you've got some baking paper and get 3 sheets of puff pastry, slightly defrosting on your kitchen bench while we get started with the filling. I'm going to be using casserole mince and savoury lentils. They're both Veggie Delights brand today. Not sponsored, I just love them and they're really delicious. If you want to cook up your own TVP with a bit of gravy in it and cook up some of your red lentils with a few spices in there, I'm sure you can figure out a way to do it yourself. But this is one of those recipes for busy families who get home from work, or you got hungry kids and you just don't have the time to think about roasting veggies and things like that. This is a fast, yummy meal that is very nutritious, particularly high in iron and protein with those lentils, and also protein with the gluten that's in the casserole mince. We're adding also a tin of champignon mushrooms. These ones today are the pieces and stems, but the whole mushrooms work really nicely as well. And scrape out any little strays. We'll add in 1/3 cup of just commercial tomato sauce. If you're not keen on tomato sauce, you could use some tomato paste instead. Tip that in there, and now all we're going to have to do is stir it together. It's very fast and easy. In Australia, one of the most popular meals for families is meat pie. When we were kids, we'd get a meat pie from the school tuck shop for our school lunch once a week. Hint, hint, check out my lunchbox challenge video talking about school lunches. And a meat pie is just always something we had in the freezer. If you got hungry on the weekend, you'd go and heat up a meat pie out of the freezer. So this was kind of my way of veganizing a meat pie. All right, that is our filling done. So easy. I'm gonna wipe the bench and I'll be right back. All right guys, my pastry is definitely ready for me to cut up now. What we have to do is line our tin first. We're just gonna use a regular baking dish and then we're gonna cover it up with our pastry. If you wanna make your own pastry, you're very welcome to do that. I actually have a pastry recipe which featured in our mini vegan apple pies recipe, which my daughter Eden made. You can use the same pastry from that with this recipe if you like, but I just wanted this one to be a really quick one for those families who are busy and don't have time to think about making their own pastry. Grab a pen and just trace around the base of your baking tin. Grab some scissors, and this is going to be the bottom. Okay, just use your tin and lay it down and roughly measure how high those sides need to be. Doesn't matter if your baking paper is a little higher than this. And I just like to use up all of the different parts I can to save the baking paper as much as I can. Now I just add a little bit of oil to the base of the pan, and you can use a little bit of the baking paper that you didn't use before. Just scrunch it into a little bit of a ball and just work that oil around the pan. And this helps the baking paper to stick to your pan. Let's pop this all in here. I just press it down gently so it sticks. And line each of the sides. And it gently curves around. Very simple. All right, and that's basically what you end up with at the end. Now we're going to follow pretty much that same pattern, but with our pastry instead. So place your baking dish down on the pastry. Oh, I was going to use a Sharpie. Use a knife instead. Don't press too hard, you don't want to mark your bench. And peel that pastry off. Oh, my pastry is soft. If you live in Australia, you probably don't need to leave it out on the bench quite as long as I did this time, but that's all right. All right, and lay that down on the bottom of your pan. If it folds over, just gently ease it back again. Make sure the whole base of your pan is covered. So there we go, and now we're going to add our sides. Now, this one's not going to have enough pastry, but we'll bring our second sheet out. Now, if you don't want to use 3 full pastry sheets, you don't have to. I like the 3 if I want to make sure the top of my pie is covered. But if you would be happy to have some gaps on the top of your pie, you can get away with just a couple of the sheets. And I lay those on the edge, these edge slices, and what I do is I press my fingers gently to combine the base with the side, and that way they're joined together. And I just continue that pattern using these strips around the side, and press the sides together as you join a new side on. And the last one doesn't need to be quite as big. Press it into the base, press it into the side, and there you are. There's our basic pastry in our pan there. Now we're going to tip in our yummy lentil mixture. Don't lose any of those delicious champignons. Spread it out gently with the back of the wooden spoon. Take that last sheet of your pastry, and the same way that we measured the base, we will now measure the same thing again, and this will be for the top. Make sure it's cut all the way through. I think that was the mistake I made earlier. I don't think it had cut the whole way through, which is why it caught a little bit. I also like to slice on that circle now, three lines like this, and they will be our steam escape holes when our pie is heating in the oven. By the way, make sure you preheat your oven to 180 degrees Celsius. And place that lid over the top of your pie. And what I like to do is have the lid on the inside of those edges, and then I just gently press it like this. Press, very easy. My kids join in making this, and it's really fun. And if you like, if you feel creative, you can turn the leftover pastry into your own little pastry balls on top, or you can get little cookie cutters and put pictures of birds and whatever else on top to make it a little bit fun for kids. But this is our lentil pie now. We're going to pop it in the oven for 45 minutes on 180 degrees Celsius, and pretty much once it's nice and golden brown, it's ready to go. You're basically just heating up what's on the inside of the pie because it's already pre-cooked, and just cooking that pastry. If your pastry starts to brown a little too early, you're welcome to cover it over with some alfo oil, and that way you'll prevent it from burning. All right, we'll see you soon, guys. Look at this beauty. Woo! Lentil pie. Oh, it looks amazing. It's bubbling, it's hot. Now, before you serve this, guys, you actually have to leave it to sit for a little while. It will retain its heat really well, so don't worry about that. But if you want to actually place it onto a serving plate and not leave it in the dish, you just leave it for, say, 10-15 minutes. And what it does is it gives the pastry time to sort of firm up a little bit. If you were to tip this onto a plate and then back again, or if you had one of the ones with the removable sides, I tend to find that the pie will flop down a little bit, and it can be a bit of a mess to serve it that way. So if you leave it to sit for a little while, it holds its shape a lot better. Now, what we like to do here in Australia is serve our meat pie, our lentil pie, with some mashed potatoes. I used oil and soy milk instead of butter and regular dairy milk. And we also have mushy peas. So it's just a tin of peas. You just mash it up and make sure it's, it's mashed, but it's not sloppy. It's actually got some chunky peas in there. And yeah, you can use a little bit of that juice out of the can to help it to combine really nicely. And that's how we serve out our lunch. I hope you enjoyed this recipe today, guys. Make sure to check out our other recipes too. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and grab a copy of my cookbook if you don't already have one. All right, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.